This is a video explaining Lab 6 for Logic Design with Petrie. At the end of this lab, you should be able to have this 7-segment display counting up and down from 99, clear it, as well as put some preset values in it. So when I was getting it graded, the TA asked me to put the number 52 in here. So you would do that with the presets down here. I did make a nice video explaining how to wire up the MSB, so the first portion of this lab. I would recommend watching it. I'll show you how to wire it up here, but for testing purposes, you should watch the video and make sure that your MSB is working for the first half. So for right now, all you need to do that is you need one CD chip here, and you need your mux. Don't worry about the rest of that. You don't even need that on your board for wiring and testing the first part of this lab. So we're gonna set this CD chip to be our A value. We're gonna set it to be our MSB. And our LSB is going to be the B values on the other chip. So if you see here in the mux, it's very hard to see once you print it out, but it has 1A, 1B output, 2A, 2B output, 3A, 3B output, 4A, 4B output. And so your 1A's, your A's are going to go to your Q chip on your MSB, and then your B's are going to go to your Q values on your LSB, on your other chip. So here we have Q1. Q1 goes directly to 1A. Okay, Q1, so pin 2 in 1A, and then Q2 will go to 2A right here. Sorry, I can't even read it. We'll go to 2A, so Q2 goes to pin 5. Up here we have 3A, so 3A is going to go to Q3. Here we have 4A, so we have Q4 going into pin 14. And for the purposes of testing this MSB, I wired my inputs together. I put a jumper cable right here just so that I wasn't sure anything wasn't bouncing. Make sure to remove these jumper cables once you start wiring up your other chip, because your Qs for the other chip are going to go into your B slots here. So next thing is the outputs. We have W going to 4, pin 4, X, pin 7, Y, 9, Z to 12. So W down here, X is here, Y, and Z. So if you watch the video of the gentleman, it's a 2-hour video explaining how to set up your MSB, make sure that you have your outputs set up in the right pins, and make sure that you have your Qs in the same spot as well, because he does make errors with both, and I wired it up just to find out that my Qs were in the wrong place and my Z and my X were also swapped. So just double check that you have those in the correct space. And then as far as wiring up the rest of the chip, it's very straightforward. We have all of our Qs done, and then you can take a switch and you can take your P values directly into the switch. So P1, P2, P3, P4. You can do this in the opposite order, of course, or any order you want. It's just nicer if you have them going from smallest to largest value. So your P1 is going to be 2 to the 0, and then 2 to the 1, 2 to the 2, 2 to the 3. So in your 7-segment display, when you put the preset enable on, you set that value to 1. That allows you to put values in there, so then you can flip your switches on, and if you want to display like a 2, you just put this P2 on and your 7-segment display will show a 2. So we have all the P's done, P1, P4. Alright, make sure you have power and ground, and everything else is very straightforward. You have preset, you can put this in any order you want. Let me just put preset here. Up, down also goes to a switch so you can control it. Preset, like I said, you flip this on to put your presets on, and up, down, you turn this on if you want to count up, and you put it off if you want to count down. So we'll have up, down going in there. And then personally, I like to set my reset and my clock to a switch. It really doesn't matter if you put it to a switch or a push pin. I'm sorry, I like to put it to a push pin, so it's easier for me to press a bunch. So you can have your reset going into here or your reset going into here, either one. Same with your clock. You want your clock directly going to one here or here. And that should be it for this. Once you have this all wired up, it should be fully functioning. You should be able to preload some values in there. You should be able to count up and down and clear it as well. So make sure that that's working. This is the first step of the video. Just make sure that that's working like it should be, and if it is, go ahead and start wiring up your LSB. So, oh my gosh, no, it shouldn't be working. It shouldn't be working. I'm sorry. We missed a very, very important part. So, to have that actually displaying something, this is our mux, and select is the first pin on it. Take select and going to this fancy transistor thing right here. Let me show it to you. The diagram looks scary, I promise it's not. So here we have two of these set up. One is going to be for the MSB, one is going to be for the LSB. They're both identical, so whichever one that you want. And so here we have a transistor that's flat facing you. The far left pin goes to ground. The middle pin, the base, that has a resistor in it, and it's going to be a 1.5 K resistor, so it is brown, black, red, gold. And then the far right pin is our emitter. So we're going to have select. Okay, so take select from your mux. My mux is here. Take select pin 1, put it through into the base of your emitter up here. I mean a base of your transistor, and then take the output, the emitter on the far right pin, and take that all the way to this black wire and put it over to put it over to up here, far left pin on your display. So once you have this fully up, it should be all working. Okay, so let's continue on. Now take your LSB, the other CD chip, plop that on your board. First thing, set power, ground. Also set ground to your carry in right here. We want that grounded. And then do the same exact thing, hooking up to your mux, as you did for the other chip. So take Q1 is going to go to 1B, Q2, 2B, Q3, 3B, Q4, 4B. So Q1 goes to pin 3, Q2 goes to pin 6, Q3, did I say Q2 goes to pin 6, and then Q3 goes to pin 10, and Q4 goes to pin 13. Alright, make sure to take the jumper cables out if you did put them in there. And then we leave the outputs the same. Those should all be good. Alright, next, here's another switch. take your p-values, do the same exact thing, p1, p2, p3, p4. All right, and now take your presets and connect them together. So just take pin 1 of your one CD chip, connect it to pin 1 of your other chip. Take your reset pin 9 and connect it with pin 9. Take your up down and connect it with the other up down here. All right, and so when, let me explain, when you press your clock, you're pressing it, you want to increment just the LSB, right? Because you want it to go 1 through 9, and then when it hits 10, it carries over, and so you're not actually going to be controlling one of these with a clock. So the way you do that, the way that you wire up your chips together, once you have them both built, so take the carry out of your MSB, pin number 7, pin 7, take the carry out of your MSB, put it to the clock, pin 2 of your LSB, and take the clock, pin 2 of your MSB, and put that to a switch. So you're going, so originally we had your clock, yes, okay, yep. All right, and then here we already have this one hooked up. We have select going into the resistor here. And then for the other one, you take your select, NAND it, and feed it back in to the other transistor here. And this is actually taking it from the oscillator. So what this does is it feeds your oscillator into the display, and then it feeds the opposite oscillator into the other part of the display, which is pretty cool. So I don't know how he wires the oscillator like he does. Like, I don't feel like I should explain it in this video because I really don't understand it. But I would watch the other video by the gentleman provided in Petrie's class to wire up your oscillator correctly. And he has 3 different resistors here going into it. And one, if you take your wire and feed it into the oscillator, one of these resistors is the slowest, one is the fastest. And so you can kind of play around with it. And if your lab doesn't work, I would recommend changing one of the resistors, feeding into a different one, and seeing how that affects your display. So then you take you take select and feed it into your output of your oscillator, of your LM chip. This is the LM chip. And once you do all of that, it should be working. So we have our select. So it takes select and NAND it, feed it into itself. Take the output. Output is going to your transistor, and that should be it. So I hope that this works out for you guys.